Well, it's 20 minutes past 1 in the morning, and I find myself sitting around just chilling out and just thinking about the video I done this evening or last night now with bully beef. And I've been thinking about the plight that we seem to be having today across the UK population, where there's a lot of people, there's a lot of uncertainty in our future, and we have members of parliament, which a lot of people are reaching out to try and get the message across that people of the UK have had enough of various ways the government seem to be actually running the UK economy and the UK into the ground. And it got me thinking about the members of parliament, how members of parliament only come in for 4 years and nothing really changes, and now our systems are fraught with failings. And then I started thinking about the members of parliament that I reached out to in trying to bring change for our veterans, our safeguarding of our children, the child maintenance system, formerly the child support agency, and how that is letting people down. And I'm looking at the failings of the government to provide support and the way they alienate and discriminate people. So it got me looking at members of parliament, and I want to share my video. I want to share my thoughts on members of parliament, because what I see at the moment is members of parliament are on a salary of 84,000 a year, plus they get their expenses and housing costs. They get so much. They get paid so much. It's unbelievable. And I found myself looking on YouTube at an MP, member of parliament I really didn't know, and I heard the name, but really, Dennis Skinner is a member of used to be a member of parliament until the last election, and he's in his 80s now, and he spent 49 years in parliament. And I got to say it today, after seeing some of his footage, I just wish members of parliament had as much get up and go as Dennis Skinner had. And I would love to know what his thoughts are on what our government are doing today and how they're running this country, because he's a gentleman who speaks his mind, and he's seen more than many, because he's spent 49 years in the House of Commons. I'm going to show you some footage which I come across this evening. And I'm actually asking questions. Why haven't we got members of parliament, MPs, representing this country with more bollocks or more fight in them? If we had MPs, members of parliament, who took on what the concerns that the UK population are raising, and had the balls that Dennis Skinner had, then we might be in a better place. I'm going to show you a couple of clips. Some of his things I'm not happy about, but it shows that he's willing to speak up, and I'm going to show you the first one.
Does the Prime Minister recall that at the time after he became Prime Minister under the coalition, At the time when he was dividing the nation between strivers and scroungers, I asked him a very important question about the windfall he received when he wrote off the mortgage of the premises in Notting Hill, and I said to him he didn't write off the mortgage of the one the taxpayers were helping to pay for at Oxford. I didn't receive a proper answer then. Maybe Dodgy Dave will answer it now. And by the way,
Order. I must ask the honourable gentleman, order. Don't require any assistance from some junior minister. Absurd proposition. I invite the honourable gentleman to withdraw that adjective that he used a moment ago. He's perfectly capable of asking his question without using that word. It is up to him, but if he doesn't wish to withdraw it, I can't reasonably ask the Prime Minister to answer the question. All he has to do is withdraw that word and think of another. Sorry? I think he knows the word beginning with D and ending in Y that he inappropriately used. Davy. Withdraw.
I know what you're saying.
Very simple. Withdraw.
Now, if we had more members of Parliament who would stand up and actually call out the dodgy dealings which are going on, David Cameron, Dodgy Dave, at the end of the day, he was dodgy. Tony Blair's been dodgy. Boris Johnson, what he's doing today is dodgy in his government. You know, the billions are being squandered. We are coming out of Brexit in January the 1st, and there is so much going on with we're going to be in financial ruin if we carry on like we are, and we've got nobody like Mr. Skinner, Dennis Skinner, to hold people to account. What we've got in our House of Commons today is just I think it's 650, and a majority of them seem to be just puppets on a string. They sit back, they don't actually ask. And I'm going to let you listen to this a bit more now, where he actually goes on and still calls David Cameron Dodgy Dave.
This man has done more to divide this nation than anybody else. He's looked after his own pocket. I still refer to him as Dodgy Dave. Do what you like.
Order. I'm sorry, I must ask the honourable gentleman to withdraw the word. Very well. Under the power given to me by Standing Order number 43, I order the honourable member to withdraw immediately from the House for the remainder of this day's sitting.
He's used to this.
And there you have Dennis walking out of the House after he called the Prime Minister Dodgy Dave, which, yes, he has. Look, he's a working man, all right? He comes from a working family. So, and that's the problem. We haven't got members of Parliament in place who've got the balls to stand up and say what needs to be said. At this moment in time, COVID-19 is... Nobody knows the truth of what's really going on. There's lockdowns going on everywhere. Okay, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and we have local councils that are being strangled with and blackmailed with by the government, which is wrong. You know, we have corporations running our government. We have corporations sitting behind. But we need people, members of parliament, we need people within the House of Commons to actually make people within the House of Commons accountable. Because at the moment, they're ignoring the actual UK population. We have protests going on all over the UK. We have people trying to seek answers to questions that need the government to sit up and actually be truthful and be transparent. We are not a transparent country anymore. We are more like a communist state, but with a modern day communist state than Russia was back in the 80s. All right. They're just abusing the powers, and it's got to stop. I'm going to show some more clip of Dennis Skinner's absolute walk in life, and during where he actually stood up and actually said what he had to say, and he didn't hold back. All right. So please, if you're a member of Parliament, Johnny Mercer, you're an ex-captain of the British Army. You were supposed to represent the veterans. You're about as good as a chocolate fire guard. All right. It seems to be you only got one thing in interest, which a lot of other people have, and that's your wealth, what you can gain while you're in the House of Commons. Many veterans have reached out to you, wrote to you, and even met you, and you talk the talk, you do nothing. All right. I would expect you, having come back from operational theatre, to have the passion and have some balls that Dennis has. All right. You at the moment are just the Conservative picture boy. I'm going to share this video. There's a lot of veterans, there's a lot of serving or people in the reservists within the Houses of Commons. And you all need to look at this and do us a favour. Do the people who voted you in to power a favour. Start getting some passion, start getting some balls, and start asking questions that need to be asked, because our systems are failing the people of the UK. They're in more favour of the corporates, of the individual top tier individuals. Okay, we have people suffering in the UK today. We have people facing so much uncertainty with regards work, with regards their financial future, and it's affecting their mental health. We need leaders. We need people who can stand up and lead us and take us forward. Boris, you say Winston Churchill is somebody you aspire to be or you admire. Winston Churchill, man, if he was around, he would give you a good slap for what you were doing. So please don't. All right? Don't, because you are just in it for your own gain. All right? the work Winston Churchill put in with winning the war and what he done. All right, far outseeds whatever you done. You're just making a mockery of everything. All right, you listen to your advisors. You're too frightened to make decisions in me. That's what it looks like. All right, and you're abusing powers by not actually get some balls like Dennis Skinner. All right, here he is, Big Dennis, and he's on it.
Who during the election campaign masqueraded as the workers' champion, and he hasn't got the guts to help those miners. He took £700 million out of the mine workers' pension scheme, and he's not given a penny back. No wonder they call him Dodgy Dead, the man that went to educated people. Is my honourable friend aware that in the 70s and in a lot of the 80s, we would have thanked our lucky stars in the coalfield areas to have got a growth of 1.75%. The only thing that was growing then were the lines of coke in front of Boy George and the rest of the
Order. This seems to be a trend with the Honourable Gentleman. He must withdraw that remark.
That was in the news.
Order. He must withdraw that remark.
No, I'm not withdrawing it.
Well, the Honourable Gentleman
It's true.
The Honourable Gentleman doesn't withdraw that remark. He must leave the chamber. I order the Honourable Gentleman to leave the chamber. Right, what's the name?
Doesn't even know his name. That's how.
I'm forced now to name the Honourable Gentleman. I named Dennis Skinner.
He didn't even know his name.
Withdrawing.
You have to ask somebody.
I said
That's
to my colleague, the
unbelievable.
Honourable Lady for Motherwell and Wishaw, that I wish the Leader of the Opposition would answer a question. It then prompted the Honourable Gentleman from Bolsover to turn around to me and call me a piece of shit. Mr. Speaker, he then went on to defend that, telling a journalist that he was just putting me in my place.
When she went into Bolsover a few years ago, at the time of the salmonella in egg crisis, she went into South Normanton Marketplace and met a woman there who said, "Hey you, are you Curry, the one about the salmonella?" She said, "Oh yes, are you going to motor story?" She says, "Look, I've got 6 of these eggs in my basket, and if you don't fling your hoop back to South Derbyshire, you'll have these on top of your head." I came to Parliament 24 years ago as one of the very few on the Labour side that was anti-monarchist, and now it's becoming embarrassing. I've got so many friends outside who believe the same thing, so when we've got rid of them, I don't believe we should be cruel like Mrs. Thatcher and throw them on the dole. I think we should provide them with work. I think that Di and Fergie should become marriage guidance counsellors. I believe the Queen could take a job at Royal Ascot, looking after the horses, because that's their real bent. And Prince Philip, he could be running a kebab shop in North London.
I'm sorry I didn't spot the Honourable Gentleman from Bolsover, but if he wants to shoehorn his question.
Favourites.
I most certainly don't look for favourites, but I'm always happy to hear the Honourable Gentleman. And if he wants to speak now, he can. The Honourable Gentleman can always shoehorn in his concern on any question, and the chair is accommodating of him. I hope his mood will improve as the day proceeds.
Dennis Skinner. When the Secretary of State came into the chamber today, I don't know whether he realised it or not, but there's a smirk and arrogance about him that almost betrays the fact that he's delighted in taking part in this activity. He could start negotiations today, wipe that smirk off his face, get down to some serious negotiations. It's had to be done in the past, but instead he comes into here to try and blame the opposition for what's taking place.
I'm most grateful to the Prime Minister, who
Would she tell us whether she intends to continue her own personal fight against a single currency and an independent central bank when she leaves office?
No, she's going to be the governor.
On the present structure,
Order. The Prime Minister.
what a good idea. I had thought of it.
The Prime Minister aware that in 1979, the cost to the taxpayer of running Downing Street was £1.25 million. Will she also confirm that 10 years later, that cost had soared by more than 400% in those 10 years, which is a bigger percentage increase than any local authority in Britain, and that's not including the cost for the gates.
Mr. Dennis Skinner.
I've never been to this palace, so I don't know what takes place. But the most bizarre thing for me, what on earth was the Queen doing confiding in cake? And make sure that the people of Bolsover are able to lay their complaints at the door where it really belongs, at this government and this little squirt of a minister.
Order. I'm asking the honourable gentleman. Order, I'm asking the House also to leave this matter to me. I'm asking the honourable member for Bolsover if he will withdraw the word that he's just used.
I know Erskine May a little bit. I know that it's not in. I know that it's not too long ago when somebody, my right honourable friend, referred to a Tory as a jerk. I am not prepared to withdraw because that's how I picture him.
Order. That being the case, I have no alternative but to ask the honourable gentleman for Bolsover to withdraw from the House for this day's sitting.
I didn't receive a proper answer then. Maybe Dodgy Dave will answer it now. And by the way,
So there we are. We have Dennis Skinner, and yeah, I just wish we had more MPs like him today, because questions need to be asked and we need answers. And it seems to be we got a lot of members of Parliament who are reluctant to ask questions and bury their head. And actually, they don't do anything for the public. You know, it's unbelievable. You know, this is a chamber that, yeah, in the days going back before COVID, they used to be full. And, you know, he would ask questions and throw things out there. And it's just we've got members of Parliament but haven't got any balls today. And
It's been his birthday on Sunday. I call Mr. Dennis Skinner.
well, I didn't know about that. I don't celebrate things like that.
Of course I take a point of order from Mr. Dennis Skinner.
Well, as a bit of an expert, I'm being thrown out.
you know, you got, and he just spoke his mind and he said what he needed to say. And yeah, I know there's people going to look at this and not be happy with, especially veterans amongst us. all right, what he said about the monarchy, but at the end of the day, he had his opinions and he had his say, and he weren't frightened to speak out and say what he needed to say. So if we have more MPs like Mr. Dennis Skinner, then where would we be today? You know, there's nobody at the moment holding anybody to account. All right, we have Boris Johnson doing whatever he wants. All right, and it's just as the government we got today is just dragging us down. All right, so I thought I'd share that with you tonight, because I don't know, we got so much uncertainty for the future. We got elections coming up. We're going to have local elections coming up next year, in May, I believe. All right, and I believe that we need people in to represent the people. We need people with passion. We need people who live in the real world, the people who have suffered, the people who will look after and answer the questions that are being asked. And I appreciate it is an hard job, and you have civil servants in there, really, and they're the people who run, and special advisors, they're the people who actually run our government. But something needs to change, because nobody's held to account of what's going on today. All right, we've just spent billions on an app, track and trace. We're spending billions on this COVID testing. COVID testing is, people are not even using the COVID tests, and they're proving that the COVID tests, they haven't used them. They've just put them straight in, they've sent them off, and they've come back positive. So people are actually proving that the systems we've got, which we spent billions for, and the taxpayers are going to pay for that. And it will not be probably us so much, it will be our kids and our grandkids who are going to pay for the money we're spending today. All right, taxpayers' money we're spending today. And somebody needs to be held accountable. We need actual answers. So I want to share that. And Mr. Skinner, absolutely, I would love to hear his point on what he thinks about the government today, because there's nobody better than Dennis Skinner to give his point of view, because he spent 49 years in politics. As them videos show, you know, he has a better understanding than anybody. So it would be interesting. All right, members of Parliament out there, I don't know what to say to you. If you were in a company that was doing as bad as you lot are doing, then majority of you would be out the door. All right, and that's fact. I don't think as many, especially some of the employees I've worked for, they would kick you out the door because of your incompetency. All right, so please, there's people asking questions. You need to start answering. You need to start running our country instead of ruining it and running it into the ground and trying to turn it into a private sector. All right, or actually, yeah, you're turning it into giving it to corporations. You know, sometimes I think I'd love to see some of your bank accounts, because many of you probably have got bank accounts offshore. All right, where's all our money going? Where's all the money going at this moment in time that is being printed on quantity easing? We're printing more money than we ever have. We're bringing it into the actual UK system. None of it is actually, well, majority of it is not getting to the grassroots, to the people who are suffering. All right. Corporations are loving it. They've actually got their hands together and they're going, oh yes, 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 more COVID, yes, yes, keep it going, yeah, you know, and you're just making wealth. For money goes to money. All right, we got poorer getting poorer. We got people suffering with mental health. We've got issues with money is everything. We've got issues with businesses closing. We've got issues with unemployment is going to be the highest it's been in a long time. We've got so much uncertainty, and it's about time members of parliament got some balls and got some passion and started having these heated debates and asking the questions that need to be asked and keep going at it. All right. Because the cabinet office need to start answering. That's why you were elected. You were elected to represent the people and actually hold the government to account. So if you're a Labour, Liberal Democrat, SNP or independent or whoever you are, you have a responsibility and a duty of care to your actual people who are elected you to power. You represent your people to get the questions answered and not just fobbed off. You need to get these answers, all right? Because our country is just falling apart. Sad thing about it. And that's all I'm going to say tonight. Uncle Fester's off to bed now, but just wanted to share that with him, all right? To everybody out there, I love you all. Take care. And yeah, if you've got it's a lot of uncertainty out there, all right? Please take care, all right? And stay safe and look after one another. If you're struggling with your actual emotions and your thoughts, please reach out, start talking to people more than anything today, all right? And that's it.